Developing mental toughness is a central theme in Stoic philosophy, especially when navigating life's inevitable challenges, such as periods of no contact. At its core, mental toughness involves the cultivation of discipline, patience, and resilience, qualities that empower individuals to endure adversity with composure and clarity. In situations where communication is lost or relationships shift, like no-contact scenarios, these Stoic principles become even more essential. The absence of connection or the uncertainty of someone's silence can evoke strong emotions like frustration, sadness, and self-doubt. However, Stoicism offers a framework for reframing these experiences as opportunities for growth and development. Discipline is a fundamental component of mental toughness. It involves maintaining consistent actions aligned with our values, even when faced with discomfort or uncertainty. In no-contact situations, discipline helps us stay focused on what we can control, our responses, thoughts, and actions, rather than becoming consumed by external factors like silence or rejection. By practicing discipline, we avoid the temptation to seek constant validation or answers, and instead channel our energy into self-improvement. Mental toughness teaches us that external circumstances are often beyond our control, and that by aligning our actions with our values, we can remain grounded and purposeful, even in difficult situations. Patience, another critical aspect of mental toughness, complements discipline by teaching us to endure uncertainty and trust that time will reveal what we need to know. In no-contact situations, we are often confronted with waiting, whether for clarity, closure, or answers. The Stoic philosophy of patience encourages us to accept this discomfort and embrace the natural course of events rather than becoming impatient or restless. By practicing patience, we reduce the stress associated with trying to control what cannot be controlled and instead focus on our own growth and self-awareness. Mental toughness helps us develop a sense of calm perseverance, reminding us that time itself is a source of healing and clarity. Resilience is perhaps the most crucial component of mental toughness. It refers to the ability to bounce back from setbacks, adapt to changing circumstances, and maintain a sense of purpose despite adversity. In no-contact situations, resilience enables us to navigate feelings of rejection or loss without losing our sense of self. Stoicism teaches that we cannot control the actions or decisions of others, but we can control how we respond to those actions. Resilient individuals focus on what remains within their power, their character, their thoughts, and their actions, rather than being consumed by external circumstances. In embracing resilience, we build a strong foundation of mental toughness that allows us to weather the storm of uncertainty and emerge stronger on the other side. Stoicism also emphasizes the importance of acceptance and letting go. In no-contact situations, we are often confronted with situations that evoke feelings of loss or grief. However, mental toughness reminds us that clinging to what is beyond our control only leads to suffering. By accepting the impermanence of relationships and situations, we can let go of expectations and focus on what we can influence: our own mindset, our actions, and our growth. Acceptance doesn't mean resignation. Rather, it is a form of freedom, freeing ourselves from the weight of attachment to things that are fleeting and uncertain. Ultimately, developing mental toughness through discipline, patience, and resilience equips us to face no-contact situations with greater strength and clarity. Stoic philosophy teaches us that challenges and adversities are inevitable, but they also present opportunities for growth. By embracing these principles, we can navigate difficult experiences with a calm, steady mind, allowing ourselves to thrive even in moments of uncertainty. Mental toughness becomes the foundation from which we build resilience, self-awareness, and inner peace, helping us remain focused on what truly matters, the present moment and our own growth. Number 1. Embracing silence, the Stoic approach to self-control. During no contact, silence, from a Stoic perspective, is more than the absence of words. It's a deliberate practice aimed at fostering self-control, clarity, and peace of mind. The Stoic philosophers, particularly Epictetus and Marcus Aurelius, emphasized the importance of restraint in thought, speech, and action. Silence is not merely about refraining from speaking, but about mastering the mind and reducing unnecessary distractions. During periods of no contact, silence becomes a powerful tool for maintaining control over one's emotions, allowing you to resist the urge to reach out, seek closure, or react impulsively. By embracing silence, you take charge of your inner world, focusing on what you can control, your thoughts and responses, rather than being consumed by the uncertainty and external chaos. The nature of control, a central Stoic principle, emphasizes the distinction between what we can control and what we cannot. Epictetus famously said, "Some things are up to us, and some things are not." The Stoic practice of silence during no contact encourages you to concentrate solely on what is within your control, your thoughts, actions, and responses. By doing so, you let go of the desire to influence the behaviors or decisions of others, particularly when they are not accessible or responsive. During no contact, the natural reaction is to feel powerless and to seek validation or answers from the person who is no longer present. However, Stoicism teaches that trying to control external outcomes, like whether or not someone responds, is futile and only increases suffering. Instead, silence allows you to turn inward, confronting your thoughts and emotions with clarity and acceptance. At the core of Stoicism is the idea that true freedom lies not in external validation or outcomes, but in self-control. Silence, as a Stoic practice, enhances self-control by removing the distractions that arise from overthinking or obsessing over things outside of your influence. When you engage in no contact, the temptation to reach out, to demand explanations, or to dwell on the behavior of others becomes overwhelming. Silence helps to mitigate these urges by reminding you that you cannot control another person's actions. By quieting the mind and focusing on what you can control, your own thoughts, you cultivate a sense of discipline and composure. Self-control is not the absence of desire or emotion, but the ability to manage these desires wisely, recognizing that some things are beyond your power. No contact often forces us into a state of uncertainty, where we are left with questions and doubts. In these moments, the mind can become clouded with confusion, doubt, and the desire for answers. Stoicism, however, teaches that clarity comes from within, not from external validation or answers. Silence creates a space for introspection and self-reflection. When you avoid the temptation to fill this silence with distractions or constant communication, you allow yourself to examine your thoughts, emotions, and values more deeply. Through this practice, you gain insight into your own reactions, motivations, and what truly matters to you. Silence encourages you to reflect on your role in the dynamic and what you can control moving forward, helping you gain a clearer understanding of your own inner landscape rather than being consumed by external uncertainty. One of the key struggles during no contact is the attachment to outcomes, expecting someone to reach out, provide closure, or return. This attachment generates unnecessary emotional turmoil, fueling anxiety, frustration, and suffering. Stoicism offers a remedy through the practice of detachment, and silence plays a crucial role in this process. By choosing silence, You practice letting go of the expectation that things will unfold according to your desires. The Stoic approach teaches that we cannot control external outcomes, only our reactions to them. Silence helps you disengage from the need for validation or closure, reducing the mental and emotional struggle that comes from seeking things that are beyond your control. Detachment in this context becomes a form of freedom from the burden of expectations, allowing you to focus on what is within your power, your responses, your actions, and your peace of mind. Acceptance is a key component of Stoicism, especially during no contact. The silence cultivated by Stoicism isn't just about removing external distractions, but also about accepting the realities of life. Impermanence, uncertainty, and things beyond your control. When you embrace silence, you come to terms with what is, rather than dwelling on what you wish could have been. This acceptance reduces the internal struggle associated with no contact, as you release the need for closure or resolution. Inner peace becomes achievable through silence because it allows you to focus on what is happening in the present moment, without being consumed by past regrets or future anxieties. By accepting the reality of the situation, you create the space for peace, clarity, and growth. Resilience is a fundamental Stoic virtue, particularly during difficult times such as no contact. Silence during these periods isn't a passive state, but an active discipline that requires effort and intention. It strengthens your mental fortitude, helping you endure discomfort without becoming reactive or overwhelmed by emotional turbulence. Silence becomes a form of resistance against the natural inclination to seek validation, control, or reassurance. By embracing silence, you build resilience, allowing yourself to face uncertainty with courage and composure. The practice of silence during no contact fosters a sense of autonomy, knowing that your peace isn't dependent on external outcomes, but on your own ability to respond with wisdom and self-control. A Stoic principle closely tied to silence is memento mori, the practice of remembering mortality and the impermanence of life. In the context of no contact, this principle reminds you that attachment to relationships or outcomes is fleeting and temporary. Silence, in this sense, helps you internalize the reality that nothing is permanent, including relationships, and that you must find peace even when things are uncertain. By embracing silence, you cultivate an awareness of the limited time you have and the importance of focusing on what is within your control. The practice of memento mori through silence allows you to let go of attachment to outcomes, freeing yourself from the constant striving for things that may never return. Number 2. Detachment as freedom, letting go of expectations. Detachment in Stoicism is often viewed as a key pathway to freedom and tranquility. The central idea is that by letting go of attachments to external outcomes, we free ourselves from unnecessary suffering and emotional turmoil. Expectations, especially those tied to outcomes we cannot control, are a primary source of this suffering. When we cling to expectations, we place our peace of mind in the hands of circumstances beyond our control, such as the actions, thoughts, or behaviors of others. This often leads to frustration, disappointment, and anxiety when those outcomes fail to materialize as we hoped. The Stoic approach to detachment emphasizes letting go of these expectations, not out of indifference, but out of a recognition that some things are beyond our control. In the context of no contact, this becomes particularly relevant. When someone you care about withdraws or goes silent, the natural response is to expect a return, closure, or some form of resolution. However, these are outcomes you cannot dictate or control. Detachment helps you release these expectations, recognizing that holding onto them only leads to frustration and suffering. Instead, Stoicism encourages you to focus on what you can control, your own actions, thoughts, and responses. By letting go of attachment to outcomes, you regain a sense of freedom from the burden of unmet desires. When we cling to expectations, especially those tied to outcomes like relationships or responses from others, we become prisoners of our own desires. Detachment allows us to acknowledge the impermanence of relationships and outcomes, understanding that not everything unfolds according to our wishes. Letting go of these expectations doesn't mean abandoning hope entirely, but rather accepting that some things are simply beyond our control. In periods of no contact, this becomes essential because it prevents you from becoming consumed by thoughts of what should happen. Instead, you accept reality as it is, which leads to greater peace and resilience. Detachment doesn't mean we become indifferent to others or our circumstances. It simply teaches us to focus on what we can influence, ourselves, rather than what is beyond our reach. One of the primary reasons Stoics advocate for detachment is that holding on to expectations creates internal conflict. We cannot control the behavior of others, yet we often try to exert influence or control over outcomes related to relationships, communication, or closure. When these expectations are unmet, we feel disappointment, frustration, and even despair. By embracing detachment, we free ourselves from this internal struggle, realizing that our peace of mind doesn't depend on others' actions or decisions. Detachment allows us to let go of the idea that we need external validation, answers, or a specific outcome to feel whole. In the realm of no contact, the temptation to hold on to expectations, like waiting for a response, hoping for closure, or desiring reconciliation, can become overwhelming. However, Stoicism teaches that such expectations only lead to suffering when they remain unmet. Number 3. Focus on what's within your control, rejecting emotional distraction. One of the core teachings of Stoicism is the principle of focusing on what is within your control. In periods of no contact, especially when dealing with uncertainty or the absence of communication, it's easy to become consumed by emotional distractions. These distractions often come in the form of overthinking, anxiety, and the constant urge to seek answers or validation from others. However, the Stoic mindset encourages us to shift our attention away from these emotional distractions and instead concentrate on what we can control, the way we respond, our thoughts, and our actions. Emotional distractions often arise when we become overly fixated on outcomes or the behavior of others. During no contact, this can lead to relentless rumination about why someone isn't reaching out, what they might be thinking, or whether they will return. These thoughts serve no purpose beyond increasing anxiety and emotional discomfort, and they pull us away from the present moment. Stoicism teaches that these distractions are a product of our own attachments and expectations, which we must learn to manage if we wish to cultivate peace of mind. By rejecting these emotional distractions, we regain our mental clarity and focus on what lies within our control, our responses, actions, and attitudes. The Stoic ideal is to understand that many external events, like relationships and the actions of others, are beyond our control. When we allow ourselves to become consumed by these events, we lose sight of the only thing that truly matters, our own reactions and behavior. In the context of no contact, the more we dwell on things that are outside our control, like whether someone will contact us, the more we fuel anxiety and frustration. Instead, Stoicism encourages us to focus on our own thoughts and actions, recognizing that these are the only aspects of the situation we can truly influence. By redirecting our attention, we free ourselves from the distractions caused by emotional uncertainty and allow ourselves to act with clarity and purpose. One of the key ways we distract ourselves emotionally is by fixating on outcomes that may never come. In the case of no contact, we may obsess over whether someone will return, if they will ever reach out, or what we could have done differently. These thoughts are often futile and unproductive, leading only to increased stress and anxiety. Stoicism advises us to recognize the futility of such thoughts and instead redirect our focus on what we can control: our responses, our actions, and our attitude. By rejecting these emotional distractions, we create space for personal growth and resilience. We accept that we cannot predict the future or control the behavior of others, which helps reduce the mental clutter and allows us to concentrate on what truly matters: our own character and decisions. The Stoic approach to emotional distractions involves acknowledging the discomfort but not becoming consumed by it. While we may feel pain or frustration during no contact, Stoicism encourages us to observe these feelings without letting them overwhelm us. When we fixate on things beyond our control, we become mentally entangled, unable to find peace. By recognizing what we can control, our thoughts, reactions, and behavior, we maintain our focus on what truly matters and let go of distractions that serve no purpose. For instance, rather than trying to control whether someone will contact us or not, we focus on maintaining our own inner peace, cultivating resilience, and developing self-mastery. In no-contact situations, our emotions often become exaggerated when we lose sight of what is in our control. We may feel a strong desire to reach out, to seek answers, or to seek closure from someone who is not present. However, these desires are usually based on things we cannot influence. Stoicism teaches us to shift our focus from these desires to the present moment, reminding us that what we can control is our own behavior, thoughts, and reactions. By rejecting emotional distractions, we reduce the mental noise that comes from trying to influence things that are outside our power. Instead, we cultivate clarity and a sense of peace by focusing on our own responses, how we think, feel, and act. The practice of focusing on what's within our control also fosters resilience. When we become absorbed by emotional distractions, we weaken our ability to endure discomfort and uncertainty. Stoicism encourages us to embrace these challenges and build mental fortitude by concentrating on what remains within our power. By letting go of the need to control outcomes or seek validation from others, we become less reactive to external circumstances. Instead, we develop the strength to endure uncertainty and remain grounded, focusing on our own well-being and personal growth. The more we focus on what we can control, the thoughts we choose to entertain, the actions we take, and the attitudes we adopt, the less vulnerable we become to the emotional turbulence of no contact. Another crucial aspect of rejecting emotional distractions is the practice of accepting what is. Stoicism teaches that many things are beyond our control, and by accepting this reality, we free ourselves from unnecessary suffering. In no-contact situations, it's common to feel frustrated or uncertain about why things are the way they are. However, Stoicism encourages us to accept these uncertainties rather than resist them. When we let go of the expectation that things will unfold according to our desires, we free ourselves from the emotional distractions caused by attachment to outcomes. Acceptance doesn't mean giving up hope, but rather recognizing that some things, such as the actions of others, are outside of our influence. By embracing this acceptance, we create the space to focus on what we can change: our own behavior, mindset, and responses. The act of focusing on what is within our control also reinforces clarity and calmness. When we are not consumed by emotional distractions, we create room for thoughtful reflection and deliberate action. Stoicism teaches that peace and tranquility come from aligning our thoughts, actions, and attitudes with what is within our control. In no-contact situations, this means letting go of the endless cycle of what-ifs and instead grounding ourselves in what we can influence, our own mindset, our own choices, and how we respond to the situation. By rejecting emotional distractions, we cultivate the clarity necessary to make decisions that are in line with our values and principles. Ultimately, focusing on what's within our control and rejecting emotional distractions is about finding freedom from the mental and emotional turbulence that arises when we obsess over things beyond our reach. Stoicism provides the framework to recognize that our peace, strength, and resilience come from mastering our responses rather than trying to control external outcomes. By focusing on what lies within our power, the way we think, act, and choose to respond, we create the space for a more peaceful and fulfilling life, even in times of uncertainty and difficulty like no contact. Number 4. The power of resilience, strengthening the mind and spirit. Resilience is a key virtue emphasized in Stoic philosophy and plays a crucial role in navigating life's challenges, especially during difficult periods such as no contact. At its core, resilience is the ability to bounce back from adversity, to maintain composure, and to persevere despite uncertainty, discomfort, or suffering. In the Stoic framework, resilience is not just a mental or emotional trait. It's a spiritual practice that cultivates inner strength and peace, even in the face of hardships. During periods of no contact, resilience becomes particularly important as feelings of rejection, uncertainty, and emotional discomfort can arise. The power of resilience lies in our ability to maintain inner tranquility and virtue, despite external circumstances that may be beyond our control. One of the foundational principles of resilience is the understanding that external events, such as someone withdrawing or going silent, are often beyond our control. Resilient individuals recognize that attempting to control outcomes like the behavior of others is futile and only leads to unnecessary suffering. Instead, they focus on what they can control: their thoughts, attitudes, and responses. In the context of no contact, this principle encourages us to let go of the need to influence external circumstances. By embracing what we can control, our own actions, thoughts, and reactions, we strengthen our inner resilience. Resilience requires a shift in perspective. It's about embracing adversity, accepting discomfort, and viewing setbacks not as insurmountable obstacles, but as opportunities for growth. The Stoic approach emphasizes the role of challenges as opportunities to develop virtue and strengthen our character. In the case of no contact, resilience helps us endure the emotional pain that often accompanies uncertainty. Rather than allowing ourselves to become consumed by negative thoughts, frustration, or self-doubt, we view these experiences as a chance to build inner strength. Resilience is not the absence of difficulty, but rather the capacity to endure and grow in the face of it. Stoics believe that adversity is a teacher, and by embracing resilience, we develop a deeper understanding of ourselves and our ability to withstand life's inevitable hardships. Another key aspect of resilience is the ability to observe and accept discomfort without being overwhelmed by it. In periods of no contact, emotional discomfort often arises from feelings of rejection, uncertainty, and attachment to outcomes that we cannot control. Resilient individuals recognize these feelings, but don't allow them to dictate their mental state. Instead, they accept that discomfort is a part of life and choose how they respond to it. By cultivating resilience, we create space to observe our emotions without being consumed by them. Stoicism teaches us that emotions are natural but not always rational, and that we have the power to manage them through reason and self-discipline. Resilience helps us acknowledge discomfort, endure it, and eventually find peace in accepting things as they are, rather than fixating on how they should be. Strengthening the mind and spirit through resilience also involves the practice of cultivating patience. No contact often triggers feelings of impatience, as we may desire immediate closure, understanding, or resolution. However, resilience allows us to endure these feelings of impatience without succumbing to them. The Stoic approach teaches us to cultivate patience, understanding that some things, such as the actions or responses of others, take time and are beyond our control. Resilient individuals understand that time is a key component of healing and growth, and they remain steadfast in their commitment to focus on what they can control. By practicing patience, we avoid the tendency to rush or seek quick fixes, and instead allow ourselves to move through discomfort at our own pace. This patience fosters resilience, as we learn to accept uncertainty and remain committed to our values, even when things don't unfold as we hoped. Resilience also requires developing a sense of purpose and clarity about what truly matters. When faced with the challenge of no contact, it's easy to become lost in distractions, negative thoughts, or the desire for closure. However, resilient individuals ground themselves in their values, principles, and long-term goals. They understand that setbacks and difficulties are not reasons to abandon their purpose or give in to despair. Instead, they use these experiences as opportunities to deepen their sense of self-awareness and strengthen their resolve. In the Stoic framework, resilience is not about avoiding hardship, but about confronting it with courage and conviction. When we focus on what truly matters, our character, growth, and personal development, we become more resilient in the face of adversity. During no contact, resilience helps us remain aligned with our values, rejecting the temptation to become reactive or consumed by the absence of external validation. Strengthening the mind and spirit through resilience also involves the practice of accepting what is beyond our control. Stoicism teaches that true freedom comes from accepting the things we cannot change. When we focus on what is within our control, our thoughts, actions, and responses, rather than trying to alter external circumstances, we free ourselves from unnecessary suffering. In no-contact situations, this principle is crucial because we often fixate on trying to control the behavior of others or the outcome of a relationship. However, resilience helps us let go of these attachments, allowing us to redirect our energy towards self-improvement and personal growth. Number 5. Accepting change and impermanence. The Stoic approach to loss. One of the key teachings of Stoicism is the acceptance of change and impermanence. Life, relationships, and circumstances are constantly shifting, and Stoicism encourages us to understand and embrace this reality rather than resist it. In the context of loss, whether the loss of a relationship, a person, or something we deeply value, accepting impermanence becomes crucial for maintaining peace of mind and resilience. The Stoic approach to loss teaches us that clinging to things that are fleeting only leads to unnecessary suffering, whereas acceptance allows us to find tranquility amidst life's inevitable changes. Loss often triggers intense emotional reactions, including sadness, grief, and a sense of emptiness. However, Stoicism helps us view loss not as an end, but as a part of the natural order of things. The key Stoic principle in dealing with loss is understanding that nothing in life is permanent, and this acceptance is essential for maintaining inner peace. The belief that everything we hold dear, whether relationships, possessions, or status, can be lost is foundational to Stoic philosophy. When we accept the inevitability of change and impermanence, we free ourselves from the false expectation that things should remain constant. Stoicism teaches that by letting go of attachment to these external things, we can experience a sense of freedom from the pain that often accompanies loss. The first step in accepting change and impermanence is to cultivate an awareness of our own attachment to outcomes, possessions, and people. Stoics recognize that clinging to anything external, especially when those things are outside of our control, leads to suffering. In the case of loss, the more we attach ourselves to things or people, the more painful their absence becomes. Acceptance of impermanence helps us detach from these attachments, allowing us to navigate loss with a clearer and more grounded perspective. For instance, if we lose someone we deeply care about, rather than resisting the pain or seeking to control their return, Stoicism encourages us to acknowledge the reality of their absence and find peace in accepting what is. By embracing the impermanence of life, we become more resilient and less prone to the emotional chaos that often accompanies loss. Another key aspect of accepting change and impermanence is the realization that loss is an inherent part of the natural order of things. Stoics emphasize the idea that nothing lasts forever, and attempting to hold on to things or people is both unrealistic and futile. The more we try to control outcomes or prevent change, the more we suffer. In no-contact situations, for example, this principle becomes particularly relevant. When someone we care about withdraws, we may experience feelings of rejection, abandonment, or sadness. However, the Stoic approach reminds us that these circumstances are not permanent and that change is unavoidable. By accepting this truth, we can reduce the emotional turbulence that often follows loss. The Stoic practice of memento mori, remembering that death and change are inevitable, is a powerful tool for confronting loss. By meditating on the reality that life is fleeting and nothing is permanent, we cultivate a sense of acceptance and equanimity. In no-contact scenarios, this practice helps us let go of the illusion that things will always stay the same. Instead of resisting or lamenting over what once was, we can come to terms with the reality that things change, and often relationships evolve or dissolve. This acceptance allows us to shift our focus from what has been lost to what remains, our own character, growth, and understanding of life. Acceptance of impermanence also frees us from the false belief that we have control over external circumstances. Stoicism teaches that we are responsible for our own reactions, attitudes, and responses, but we cannot control the actions of others or the unfolding of external events. When we experience loss, especially during no contact, we often struggle with trying to understand why things have happened or what we could have done differently. However, the Stoic approach encourages us to focus on what lies within our control, the way we respond to the loss, the meaning we give to it, and how we choose to carry on. By letting go of attachment to outcomes, we free ourselves from the need to control things that are beyond our power. In accepting change and impermanence, we understand that loss is an inevitable part of life, and by relinquishing our need to influence external events, we gain the mental space to respond to the situation with clarity and strength. In Stoicism, acceptance doesn't mean resignation. It means understanding and acknowledging the natural order of things. Resisting change or lamenting the loss of something we cannot control only prolongs our suffering. Acceptance, on the other hand, allows us to confront the reality of impermanence and cultivate inner peace. In no-contact situations, this acceptance helps us find solace in knowing that loss is a natural part of life and that we can grow from the experience even if the external circumstances do not change. Another Stoic practice that reinforces acceptance is the concept of amor fati, loving and accepting all that happens as part of our fate. By embracing what happens to us, whether we consider it good or bad, we align ourselves with the natural flow of life. In the context of loss, embracing amor fati means accepting that the end of a relationship or the absence of communication is not something to resist, but rather something to accept and reflect upon. When we lose someone or something important, we often struggle with feelings of regret or bitterness. But Stoicism teaches that these emotions are counterproductive. Instead, we should accept the loss as part of our destiny and focus on how we can grow from it. Resilience and inner strength arise from accepting the realities of life, including the certainty of loss and change. In no-contact situations, the Stoic approach encourages us to accept the impermanence of relationships and circumstances rather than dwelling on what was lost or what might have been. By focusing on what remains within our control, the meaning we derive from the experience, the lessons we learn, and our own responses, we strengthen our mind and spirit, growing in wisdom and self-awareness. Ultimately, acceptance of change and impermanence allows us to navigate loss with clarity and resilience, finding peace even in the face of life's inevitable transitions. Number 6. Practicing gratitude, shifting focus to what you can control. Practicing gratitude is a powerful Stoic practice that involves shifting our focus from what we lack or cannot control to what we have and can influence. In Stoicism, the focus on what is within our control, our thoughts, actions, and attitudes, is central to living a peaceful and resilient life. When we experience difficulties, such as no contact or loss, it's easy to become consumed by feelings of frustration, regret, or sadness over what has been lost. However, practicing gratitude helps us redirect our attention from external circumstances to what remains in our control, our mindset, responses, and the present moment. One of the fundamental Stoic teachings is that external events, like the behavior of others or the circumstances surrounding a relationship, are beyond our control. While we may experience feelings of hurt, disappointment, or rejection during no contact, these emotions often arise from our attachment to outcomes and our desire to control situations that are ultimately outside of our power. Practicing gratitude helps us detach from these external concerns and focus instead on what we can control, our own responses and attitudes. By cultivating gratitude, we become aware of the things that remain within our grasp, such as our ability to respond thoughtfully, our values, and our own sense of well-being. In the context of no contact, practicing gratitude involves recognizing the positives in our lives despite the challenges. Stoicism teaches that even during difficult times, there are always things to be thankful for, whether it's our health, our character, our growth, or the small moments of clarity and peace that we can cultivate. By shifting our focus from what has been lost to what we have, we reduce the tendency to dwell on negative thoughts and increase our resilience to adversity. For example, if someone we care about has withdrawn, we might feel overwhelmed by sadness, rejection, and the desire to understand why they've gone silent. However, gratitude helps us accept the impermanence of relationships while recognizing the things we can still control, our own character, our ability to maintain peace, and our commitment to personal growth. Stoicism teaches that by focusing on what we can control, we remain anchored in the present and avoid the emotional distractions that come from dwelling on what is beyond our reach. Another key aspect of practicing gratitude is acknowledging and appreciating what remains in our lives. Even when faced with no contact, we can still be grateful for the present moment, our own strengths, and the lessons we're learning. Stoicism emphasizes that external events, no matter how painful, are temporary, but our own responses and attitudes are always within our power. By consciously practicing gratitude, we train ourselves to shift our attention from what we lack to what we have. This practice doesn't deny the reality of loss or pain, but it helps us to find balance and perspective in the face of adversity. Gratitude becomes a tool to build resilience, as it encourages us to focus on what is still in our control, our thoughts, our actions, and the values that guide us. In no-contact situations, this shift in focus helps prevent us from becoming consumed by regret or negative emotions. Instead, we cultivate a sense of gratitude for the things that remain, our growth, our self-awareness, and the opportunity to move forward with wisdom. Practicing gratitude also requires us to confront our own expectations and attachments. In Stoicism, attachment to external things, people, outcomes, or circumstances, is seen as a source of suffering. When we hold tightly to the belief that we should have control over outcomes, we create unnecessary distress. In no-contact situations, we often feel frustrated because we have no control over the other person's behavior or decisions. However, practicing gratitude encourages us to let go of these attachments, focusing instead on what we can control, our responses, our thoughts, and our own journey toward peace and growth. By shifting our attention to what we can control, we free ourselves from the emotional turmoil of attachment and find peace in accepting the reality of impermanence. Stoicism teaches that by relinquishing our attachment to outcomes, we gain clarity and strength. Practicing gratitude, therefore, becomes a tool for letting go of expectations and embracing the present moment. This mindset shift allows us to cultivate peace and emotional balance even in the face of uncertainty and loss. In addition, gratitude helps to foster a sense of perspective, which is essential for navigating no-contact situations. When we experience loss, especially when someone we care about withdraws, it's easy to become consumed by feelings of rejection, sadness, and uncertainty. However, gratitude reminds us to view these experiences from a broader perspective, recognizing that life is filled with both challenges and opportunities. By reflecting on the things we can still control, our own thoughts, our character, and our responses, we avoid getting lost in the emotional overwhelm of what we cannot change. In this way, practicing gratitude helps us stay grounded and focused on what truly matters, empowering us to move forward with a clearer sense of purpose. Ultimately, practicing gratitude is a powerful Stoic practice that allows us to shift our focus from external concerns to what we can control. By cultivating an attitude of gratitude, we reduce the emotional distractions caused by no contact or loss, embracing instead the present moment, our own growth, and the lessons we can learn. This practice helps us build resilience, find peace, and maintain a sense of balance, even when life feels uncertain or challenging. Number 7. Embracing solitude, strengthening inner peace and self-awareness. Embracing solitude is a fundamental practice in Stoicism that fosters inner peace, self-awareness, and resilience. In today's fast-paced and interconnected world, solitude often feels like a luxury or an inconvenience. However, Stoic philosophy encourages us to view solitude as a necessary part of personal growth and self-improvement. By stepping away from external distractions and social interactions, we create space to reflect on ourselves, our values, and our place in the world. The Stoic approach to solitude emphasizes the importance of turning inward to develop a deeper understanding of ourselves and our thoughts. In solitude, we are freed from the constant noise and pressures of the external world. This freedom allows us to focus on what truly matters, our own thoughts, emotions, and the development of our character. In no-contact situations, for instance, solitude can be particularly beneficial. When someone withdraws or distance arises, we may feel a sense of rejection or confusion, but Stoicism encourages us to view these moments of solitude as opportunities to reflect and grow. Instead of focusing on external events that are beyond our control, we can shift our attention inward, recognizing that our inner world is what we can truly influence. In solitude, we become more attuned to our thoughts and emotions, allowing us to understand what we truly value and what contributes to our well-being. Solitude provides a sanctuary for self-reflection and introspection. In the noise of daily life, we often become distracted by external concerns, relationships, social status, or the approval of others. Solitude offers the space to detach from these distractions and explore what lies beneath the surface of our thoughts and emotions. Stoicism teaches that our true self resides within, and by embracing solitude, we access this deeper understanding. In no-contact situations where external communication may be limited, solitude becomes a powerful tool for self-awareness. We might feel lost or confused, but solitude allows us to reflect on what is within our control, our thoughts, responses, and personal growth. By focusing on what remains constant and stable, our character, values, and ability to respond calmly to external circumstances, we can cultivate inner peace and resilience. In solitude, we are better able to recognize our own shortcomings, biases, and desires. Stoicism emphasizes the importance of self-examination and self-improvement. In the quiet of solitude, we confront our fears, doubts, and desires, becoming more aware of what truly matters to us. This awareness helps us detach from superficial concerns and prioritize what contributes to our growth. In no-contact situations, we may experience confusion or a sense of rejection, but Stoicism encourages us to embrace this solitude as an opportunity to reflect on our own development. We can ask ourselves questions such as, "What can I control?" or "What lessons can I learn from this experience?" By turning inward and focusing on our thoughts, we cultivate greater self-awareness and strengthen our resilience. Solitude also allows us to develop a sense of gratitude and appreciation for what we have. When we are surrounded by distractions and external demands, we often take many things for granted: our relationships, our health, and the present moment. Solitude encourages us to reflect on what truly matters and to appreciate the things that remain. In no-contact situations, solitude offers an opportunity to recognize the value of our own thoughts, emotions, and experiences. Instead of dwelling on the absence of others, we can shift our focus to what we still have: our own character, resilience, and the potential for growth. This practice of gratitude fosters inner peace and helps us become more attuned to what truly matters. Stoic philosophy teaches that in solitude, we find freedom from the distractions of the external world. When we are not constantly seeking validation, approval, or external reassurance, we become more self-reliant and resilient. Number 8. Meditation and reflection, cultivating inner strength and stillness. Meditation and reflection are central practices in Stoicism that help cultivate inner strength, clarity, and stillness. In a world filled with constant distractions, noise, and external pressures, these practices offer a means to quiet the mind, gain perspective, and develop resilience. Stoic philosophy teaches that our thoughts and emotions are often driven by external circumstances, but true peace and strength come from within, through control over our minds and responses. Meditation and reflection provide the tools needed to detach from these external influences and focus on what truly matters: our own character, virtues, and personal growth. In no-contact situations, where we may feel isolated or disconnected, meditation and reflection become especially valuable. Stoicism encourages us to view such times of solitude as opportunities to deepen self-awareness, cultivate inner stillness, and strengthen our mental fortitude. The goal is not to escape discomfort or reject the reality of difficult situations, but to embrace them and respond with calmness and wisdom. Meditation allows us to observe our thoughts and emotions without judgment, helping us detach from unnecessary distractions. When faced with no contact or separation, we often become consumed by feelings of rejection, confusion, or sadness. Meditation helps us step back from these emotions, creating space to observe them without being overwhelmed. The key is not to suppress these feelings, but to recognize them and understand that they are often rooted in our attachment to external circumstances. By detaching from these attachments, we create mental stillness, allowing us to focus on what lies within our control, our own thoughts, attitudes, and responses. Reflection, on the other hand, provides the opportunity to examine our experiences, evaluate our actions, and gain deeper insight into ourselves. Stoicism encourages us to regularly reflect on our thoughts, emotions, and behaviors, asking questions like, "What can I control?" and "What lessons can I learn from this situation?" In no-contact scenarios, reflection allows us to gain clarity on what matters most: our values, character, and personal growth. Instead of dwelling on external factors like the actions of others, we can turn inward and ask, "How can I grow from this experience?" By reflecting in this way, we cultivate inner strength and stillness, enabling us to respond to challenges with resilience and equanimity. Meditation and reflection also help us develop a greater sense of self-awareness. In the noise of everyday life, we often lose sight of our true selves, our values, virtues, and purpose. Meditation provides the space to reconnect with our thoughts and emotions, fostering greater awareness of what lies beneath the surface. In no-contact situations, self-awareness becomes essential. We may feel disconnected or uncertain, but through meditation and reflection, we can observe these feelings with clarity and begin to understand their roots. This awareness allows us to see our responses more clearly, helping us act from a place of understanding rather than reaction. Reflection helps us uncover the beliefs, attachments, and expectations that often drive our emotions. Stoicism teaches that our suffering comes from our attachment to external outcomes. Beliefs that things should remain the same, or that we should have control over others' actions. In no-contact situations, reflection helps us recognize these attachments and let go of the need to control outcomes. Meditation and reflection create the mental space needed to understand what we can and cannot control. When we focus on what lies within our power, the present moment, our thoughts, and our actions, we strengthen our inner resolve and find peace. Stoic meditation encourages us to observe our thoughts without judgment, detaching from emotional disturbances and focusing on what we can influence. Reflection complements this practice by helping us process our emotions, gain clarity, and identify areas for growth. In no-contact situations, meditation and reflection allow us to embrace solitude, find stillness, and develop resilience. Stillness, both physical and mental, is central to Stoic practice. In moments of stillness, we step away from external noise and distractions, creating a calm space for self-examination. Meditation encourages us to cultivate this stillness, allowing us to detach from the chaos of our thoughts and emotions. In no-contact situations, where external circumstances may seem overwhelming, meditation provides a refuge of stillness. By embracing this stillness, we create the conditions for inner peace, helping us navigate difficult times with clarity and strength. Reflection, combined with stillness, deepens our understanding of ourselves. It allows us to process our experiences, assess our values, and develop a more grounded sense of self. In no-contact situations, reflection helps us identify the lessons in adversity, fostering a mindset of growth and resilience. Meditation and reflection work together to cultivate the stillness needed to face challenges with equanimity. In stillness, we gain the clarity to see things as they are, without distortion from emotional turbulence. Meditation helps quiet the mind, while reflection provides the opportunity to examine our thoughts and responses. Together, these practices empower us to detach from external distractions, understand our emotions, and respond to difficulties with strength and self-awareness. In no-contact situations where feelings of loss and isolation may arise, meditation and reflection help us embrace solitude and turn inward. By doing so, we cultivate inner peace and the resilience needed to face life's inevitable uncertainties with calmness and wisdom. Number 9. Memento mori. Remembering mortality to stay present. Memento mori, which translates to remember death in Latin, is a Stoic practice rooted in the awareness of our mortality. In Stoicism, the awareness of our finite time on earth serves as a powerful reminder to live with intention, clarity, and mindfulness. The concept encourages us to reflect on the fact that life is transient and uncertain, urging us to embrace the present moment rather than being consumed by fears of the future or attachment to the past. By remembering our mortality, we develop a sense of urgency to act with virtue, prioritize what truly matters, and let go of things that are beyond our control. In the context of no-contact situations, memento mori becomes particularly relevant. When someone we care about withdraws or disappears, it can evoke feelings of loss, confusion, and sadness. In these moments, it's easy to become consumed by regrets or fears about what might have been. However, memento mori helps redirect our focus from these external circumstances to what is within our control, the present moment, our actions, and how we respond. By remembering our mortality, we're reminded of the limited time we have and the need to prioritize what truly matters, rather than dwelling on the past or situations beyond our reach. In no-contact scenarios, memento mori encourages us to reflect on the impermanence of relationships and the fleeting nature of life. When someone we care about goes silent, it's natural to desire answers or explanations. However, Stoicism teaches that these attachments to outcomes and the past are often sources of suffering. By remembering our mortality, we become more aware of how time is limited and how much energy we invest in things that are ultimately beyond our control. This awareness allows us to detach from the desire for answers or external validation, focusing instead on what remains, our own growth, resilience, and the actions we can take today to live meaningfully. Memento mori serves as a grounding practice that reminds us to make the most of the time we have. Life's uncertainties, whether it's the absence of someone or the unknown future, are reminders that nothing in life is guaranteed. By acknowledging our mortality, we cultivate a sense of gratitude for the present moment. In no-contact situations, this practice helps prevent us from becoming consumed by fear or regret, encouraging us to stay grounded in the here and now. Instead of dwelling on what has been lost or what could have been, memento mori compels us to reflect on how we want to spend our limited time. It encourages us to focus on what we can control, the present moment, our character, and how we respond to adversity. In no-contact situations, memento mori helps us shift our attention from the absence of others to the presence of our own character and growth. By reflecting on our mortality, we understand that life is too short to waste energy on things that are beyond our control. This awareness fosters a deeper sense of purpose and clarity, helping us stay anchored in the present rather than chasing after things that no longer serve us. The practice of memento mori also encourages us to act with virtue and integrity. Stoicism teaches that our time on earth is limited and we must use it wisely, striving to live according to our values and principles. In no-contact situations, memento mori reminds us that the behaviors and actions of others are beyond our control. What remains within our control is how we respond, whether with patience, understanding, or wisdom. By embracing this mindset, we act with integrity, guided by what truly matters rather than being distracted by what has been lost. Reflection on mortality fosters a deeper sense of self-awareness. In the quiet moments of solitude, whether in no-contact situations or elsewhere, we confront the reality that life is brief and uncertain. This awareness allows us to examine our thoughts, actions, and priorities more deeply. Instead of clinging to external attachments, we begin to focus on what aligns with our values and character. By reflecting on our mortality, we cultivate a sense of purpose that guides our actions and decisions. In no-contact situations, this reflection allows us to explore what really matters: our growth, resilience, and the quality of our responses, rather than being consumed by the absence of others. Memento mori also helps us let go of the fear of loss. One of the central themes of Stoicism is the acceptance of change and impermanence. When we are confronted with no contact or separation, it's natural to feel fear, sadness, or uncertainty about what the future holds. However, memento mori teaches us to accept these uncertainties as part of life's natural flow. By remembering that all things are transient, relationships, experiences, and even life itself, we can cultivate a sense of peace with what is beyond our control. In no-contact situations, memento mori encourages us to embrace the reality of impermanence, letting go of attachment to outcomes that may never be resolved. Instead, we focus on our own growth and the peace that comes from accepting life as it unfolds. In this way, memento mori becomes a tool for fostering resilience in the face of adversity. It reminds us that loss and change are inevitable parts of life, but our response to them is what defines us. In no-contact situations, memento mori helps us realize that we have the power to respond with strength, clarity, and virtue. By reflecting on our mortality, we build the resilience needed to face life's uncertainties, trusting that we have the internal resources to grow and thrive despite external challenges. Ultimately, memento mori is a practice that reminds us of the importance of staying present, embracing what we can control, and letting go of what we cannot. In no-contact situations, this philosophy encourages us to shift our focus from the external circumstances of absence to the internal strength that remains within us. By acknowledging our mortality, we cultivate a deeper awareness of the fleeting nature of life, allowing us to respond with greater clarity, purpose, and peace. Number 10. Developing mental toughness, building discipline and patience. Developing mental toughness is a key component of Stoic philosophy, emphasizing the importance of cultivating discipline and patience in the face of adversity. Mental toughness is the ability to endure difficult situations, stay focused on one's values, and maintain composure even in the face of challenges. Stoicism teaches that external circumstances are often beyond our control, but how we respond to them is entirely within our power. By building mental toughness through discipline and patience, we strengthen our character and become more resilient in navigating life's uncertainties. In no-contact situations, where we may feel isolated, rejected, or uncertain, mental toughness becomes essential. The absence of communication from someone we care about can evoke feelings of frustration, sadness, and self-doubt. However, Stoicism encourages us to view these moments as opportunities for growth. Mental toughness helps us develop the patience to endure these difficulties without becoming overwhelmed by negative emotions. Discipline plays a fundamental role in building mental toughness. Discipline is the ability to act consistently in alignment with our values and goals, even when faced with discomfort or temptation. In no-contact situations, we may be tempted to react impulsively, to seek validation or answers externally. However, Stoic discipline reminds us to focus on what is within our control, our thoughts, attitudes, and responses. By maintaining self-discipline, we resist the urge to dwell on things beyond our control and instead cultivate habits that promote inner strength. For instance, we might practice self-control by avoiding unnecessary overthinking about the silence or absence of others, and instead channeling our energy into self-improvement and personal growth. Patience is another critical aspect of mental toughness. Stoicism emphasizes the importance of accepting the natural course of events and trusting that time will bring clarity and resolution. In no-contact situations, patience allows us to endure periods of uncertainty without losing hope. When someone withdraws or goes silent, our initial instinct may be to seek answers immediately, but Stoicism teaches us to embrace the discomfort of waiting and to trust that things will unfold in their own time. Patience doesn't mean passivity or inaction, but rather a calm perseverance, a commitment to act wisely and consistently, even when the outcome is uncertain. By developing patience, we build the mental toughness required to endure difficult experiences, such as the emotional turmoil caused by no contact, without succumbing to despair. Mental toughness also requires us to cultivate resilience, an essential Stoic virtue. Resilience is the capacity to bounce back from setbacks, adapt to changing circumstances, and maintain a sense of purpose even during adversity. In no-contact situations, resilience helps us stay grounded and focused on what we can control, rather than being consumed by the uncertainty of external factors. By practicing patience and discipline, we build the resilience necessary to withstand difficult emotional experiences without losing our sense of self. In moments of solitude and silence, we often encounter discomfort, and Stoicism teaches that these moments are opportunities for growth. In no-contact situations, resilience allows us to embrace the discomfort of absence without being consumed by it. Instead of reacting impulsively to feelings of rejection or abandonment, we respond with a sense of inner strength, accepting the reality of what we cannot control and focusing on what remains, our thoughts, attitudes, and actions. Stoicism further encourages us to embrace adversity as a means of character development. Developing mental toughness involves reframing challenges as opportunities for self-improvement. In no-contact situations, these challenges can feel like setbacks, but Stoicism teaches that adversity is a test of our character. By building discipline and patience, we learn to accept the discomfort of difficult circumstances as part of life's journey. In moments of silence or absence, we reflect on what we can learn and how we can grow stronger. Mental toughness requires us to detach from emotional distractions, staying committed to our long-term goals even when the present feels uncertain. In no-contact situations, this detachment from external validation and outcomes allows us to focus on personal growth, self-awareness, and the development of our character. Discipline, patience, and resilience are all interconnected in the Stoic framework. Mental toughness isn't just about enduring discomfort, but also about maintaining a clear sense of purpose. In no-contact situations, the practice of mental toughness helps us stay connected to what truly matters, our values, personal growth, and the development of virtues like patience and self-control. By focusing on these internal qualities, we reduce our dependence on external circumstances, allowing us to face uncertainty with composure and confidence. Ultimately, Stoic mental toughness empowers us to respond to life's challenges with strength and clarity. In no-contact situations where emotional turmoil may arise, we can develop the discipline and patience necessary to remain focused on what lies within our control. By cultivating mental toughness, we become resilient in the face of adversity, trusting that time, effort, and inner strength will guide us through uncertain and difficult periods.